The DAO series is an initiative for the superhumans to relate more with other DAOs in order to build a relationship with them. And this is actually the first official DAO series we'll be having. And I am so excited because this is actually my first time doing this, and I am sure you are excited as well. So let's talk a little bit about each other first before we dive in. So my name is Mide, and I am a student of mass communication here in Nigeria, and I have awesome interest in crypto. I'm not so huge on the technicalities, but I love the fact that as long as you have basic knowledge about crypto, you can find a way to add value positively to wherever you find yourself. So I'm going to start asking questions soon. Like, I'm actually very happy here in SuperUMAn, and I'm happy that I'm able to add value. And I'm also guessing that you're also adding great value to your DAO. So, how do you feel about like how are you connected to BadgerDAO? I mean, what got you interested in Badger? Can you tell us, please?
Sure. Yeah, I wasn't sure who that was directed to, but I'm happy to start. There's also an echo. I don't know if my voice is coming back through your. Okay, that went away. Okay, yeah. So I mean, I think what brought me to Badger was that it just seemed really inevitable that Bitcoin, this store of value digital asset, was going to be used in DeFi, and took a look at some of the different projects that were trying to kind of build DeFi on top of Bitcoin. And as I started learning more about kind of Ethereum based DeFi, it just became clear that Ethereum was where all the fun DeFi stuff was happening. And the niche of Badger is basically to bring Bitcoin into DeFi and through a bridge and through many different types of Bitcoin and Bitcoin backed and Bitcoin based derivative assets. So it just seemed like it made a lot of sense. And from a kind of business point of view, like Badger charges fees when Bitcoin is brought into DeFi for doing and again for doing yield farming and things like that. And all the different things that are popping up in DeFi. So it seemed like it was kind of an inevitable niche for a DAO to fill. So that's what brought me into Badger. And then getting more into Digg, that really came out of my conversations with Wezek, who is kind of the one who explained Digg more to me in depth. And that's how I ended up working more closely with the people who are doing Digg stuff.
Wow, that's actually awesome. So how exactly did you learn about humans, like, and why did you decide to build with you and me, Uma?
Why did we decide to build the KPI options? So I learned about UMA and the SuperUMAns at back in the closer to the beginning of the year. Just given at the time the work with Clause and going towards that, and then along with, although I know that never materialized, it introduced me to the UMA team, and then afterwards, when the Badger team initially launched the KPI options protocol on top of UMA, and it ran one round but unsuccessfully unlocked rewards, given just a lot of the market turmoil, I realized it was a really good idea and design, and just if we could potentially tweak it so that it could run in perpetuity and continue to incentivize buying and holding versus just a one-time event, it would be a really cool experiment to try for a few months and see if we could evolve it into something more scalable and for longer periods of time too. So that was my introduction to UMA. I don't know if Wasabi was the same for you or if you had a different path.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you have been more involved with UMA than I had, but my first introduction to UMA was through this options program. And since then I've learned, a little bit more, but I definitely like to dig deeper, because it seems like the niche of UMA, and maybe I'm getting this wrong, but is kind of like, excuse me, to sort of provide like business to business or like DAO to DAO services. So like looking at things that are kind of like creating special products and services that other DAOs need, like oracles or these options programs or other types of incentives, ways of creating alignment between different interests. So I think, you know, that's kind of like really what crypto is all about, and finding the most efficient ways to do those things. So I think UMA has a really cool niche in the space, and I would love to learn more.
Wow, that's really awesome. I mean, it's awesome that you actually think of the superhumans that way. So, can you tell us your first experience with KPI options, the one that you made it through and the one that you currently have now?
Yeah, I think the first iteration was back in May, and it basically it built the groundwork, or the, you know, we really didn't create the KPI options like foundation with Digg. You know, obviously that was really done in May by the Badger team. John Toe put together kind of the foundation for like how the mechanics would work. You know, the whole idea around the 30-day event, and just like the snapshots and everything that went along with it. And it was at the time really exciting. I think people got really excited about it. It started to work immediately. I think you start to see like a push and Digg towards equilibrium as people were excited about the launch of KPI options. And then there was just a broader that was around the time, I think, as everybody, you know, not so fondly refers to it, as just the time that Elon nuked the market, so to speak, when he kind of like just did a reverse course on Bitcoin. And then everything just fell apart. And then that 30-day event, you know, didn't succeed in unlocking anything. And it was kind of just more along the lines of just broader market turmoil that caused it to kind of have issues. And so what I initially saw, and kind of, you know, Wasabi is probably being not giving himself enough credit, but what, you know, Wasabi and a few others helped me see was just like, if you tweak this so that you can incentivize certain behaviors like holding, you know, every 30 days, and then continue buying, that it should work. It should work eventually, because, you know, if the options expire valueless at the end of 30 days, but then you know, reissue options to everybody that previously had them based on a set of criteria, such as holding during that 30 days or buying, and continued buying during the next event, then you can essentially begin to distill the options to diamond hands, or holders who are truly like following and watching. And it may not unlock rewards the first event or the second event, but my whole thesis was that eventually, like, you would unlock rewards, because you would be slowly distilling options to people that understand the program. And then obviously the more holding, the more likely that it eventually will happen. So that was kind of, you know, how we took the initial program, and then, you know, tweaked it into what it is today. And then obviously in the month of August, that was the month that I think we hit 88% of the days over that 30-day period. We unlocked options by remaining at equilibrium or above equilibrium. I think during that time, Digg went through like about, I think it doubled in terms of positive expansion. I think it went from somewhere around like 300, 400 to like 500 or 600 total Digg. So it basically doubled in supply through positive expansion. It unlocked, like, I think around, you know, obviously the value of Digg changes, but it unlocked at the time, I think around 2.5 million in BDIG. And, you know, obviously successfully was able to help the Badger core team, you know, incentivize and drive Digg behavior to maintain peg or stay above peg. And so that was kind of the culmination of, I think, 4 different KPI options events that eventually ended with the 4th one being the one where it helped unlock the options.
Hey, what's up, guys? I have a question for you. What are the ways that your community gets involved with the KPI options, and what ways does your community as a DAO, get involved? Like what goals you guys have?
I mean, the Digg community's been a pretty organic, community-led group. I mean, we basically, Wasabi and I both initiated the Digg Dojo probably 3-4 months ago, I guess. I don't know if that sounds right to you.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
And that was just essentially a moment where we would kind of bring whatever the topics were and then try to set a very loose agenda for discussion, and then like help decide what it is we should do. Like, so as the community kind of helped engage and help direct this, that helped inform a lot of what happened from there. And then, obviously any sort of proposals that needed to be written. So it was a very community-led project.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, I think like that is kind of an interesting experience in my brief career of working with DAOs. Is like, there's not in many cases a real like top down, okay, this is the project that we're doing, right? You have different developers who are working on different projects, and people have different priorities, and the community has other things they want to see. And so, we just were talking and said, hey, let's start this call. So we started this Digg Dojo call, and it was, started off slow, but then we've got up to like 50, 60, 100 people on each week. And that kind of like helped create this connective tissue between the community and also the devs and core team of Badger, who are, coming in increasingly as the call grew. So I think it just became this really cool way to just move things forward and create, hey, this is what the community wants, or this is what the devs' priorities are. This is what, what they can do, how they can allocate their time. Because, like with a DAO, money is scarce, but like probably the most scarce resource is this developer energy, because there are so few developers who are building stuff in Solidity, that like their time and focus is really at a premium. So this kind of helped bridge that gap and get Digg back, or get Digg kind of aligned with between the devs and the community.
Okay, that's awesome. So could you give a bit of brief on what your project was all about? I mean, like what it does and the value it added to your community as a whole.
Sorry, what the KPI options did, or what?
Yes, like the value it added to your community.
I think so. Digg, I think if you look at Digg as a whole, it's an algo based coin. It's an elastic rebasing token with no backing, no collateral backing it. It was forked off of Ample. There's some changes to it, obviously, that make it different than Ample. One of which is that it's pegged to Bitcoin versus the US dollar. It also has it has a staked form of Digg, BDigg, which can be used across different teams. But at its heart, the Badger, I think, team defines it as a kind of a hedge strategy, which I think at one point it was and could be if it was in steady state. And obviously I've talked a lot about this at length, but I mean, at its heart, it's been fairly experimental, right? Like most algo coins are to some degree. And so I don't know if the KPI options, like the goal of it was really to try to help stabilize Digg. I mean, I think so in that respect, the KPI options were successful. I think the question really is are KPI options a sustainable program to wrap around something like Digg on a yearly basis, like that runs in maybe instead of 30 days, you stretch it out to cycles of like quarters, and then you run it quarterly. Like, is that a sustainable way to like help maintain peg for something like Digg or any other asset that's an algo coin? I don't know if that answers your question. It's not the objective was basically just to try to help Digg maintain peg. And so in that respect, I think it succeeded. The next question is, can you do something like this, year round, and a way that's not very laborious or, laborsome for the team, but can also be beneficial and maybe automated in some ways?
Do you have any plans, ideas, or anything in the works right now?
Well, I think Digg is kind of in an interesting place now. So we've got, we finished the one round of options that was quite successful, and now we're rolling it into a subsequent round. I guess this is the fifth round or fourth round, but we're stretching it out. So it used to be this monthly cadence, and we kind of realized that it's quite a bit of work to do the snapshots and the minting and everything on a monthly basis. Like that's quite a big ask for the dev team. So we're extending it out to 3-month cycles, and also looking at other ways that we can evolve Digg. So like it's always, as Wezek said, been this kind of experimental, like algorithmic coins that track the basis of another asset without a backing. That's really like the frontier of DeFi, right? Like that's kind of the holy grail that many different teams are iterating on. So there's about 5 or 6 different proposals that the community has come up with, and members of the core team. And so we're really at this kind of like, what's the next chapter phase, where we're going through, and we were just talking about this yesterday on the call, kind of like trying to flesh out each of those proposals and get a scope and see which ones are doable and most interesting to the community, and then try to get the dev resources to make it happen. So we're really doing this kind of like open, community driven planning for the next evolution of Digg, and that's a pretty exciting thing, I think.
Can you tell us a little bit about your beginnings with Badger?
We met each other on the Digg or on the Badger Discord, just kind of like chiming in on different topics. I was quite interested in the marketing side of things, and Wezek is in his real life does financial modeling and planning, so he's like helped a lot on that side of things. So we consider ourselves like just community members that over time became more formal contributors, but we were definitely not there kind of at the start. And I think our role has always been like community members plus that kind of like went on to take a more active role, but after the kind of initial founding had already happened.
Yeah, that's what we are as SuperUMAns. We're just like the community that put ourselves together to raise the TVL, and now we are working on integration. So we're still kind of sorting things out. So it's been pretty cool. It's a little tough sometimes of figuring everything out and changing things around, but it's been really cool, really great experience. I was at one of your Badger calls, and I think one of our SuperUMAns is actually, well, I know we have a few of them, but Surf, one of the best poet makers ever. I have a poet from the Badger, from a Badger call, a dojo call. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I know Poopster also. He's like on a lot of Badger stuff, and I know he's in UMA, and he's everywhere. But yeah, we see him a lot, and I'm not sure who the other person you mentioned is. Yeah, but I know there's definitely a lot of overlap, and I'm interested to hear if you have any time to talk about like the SuperUMAn stuff and how the community has evolved on your side. I'd be interested to hear that also, or maybe that's a different call, but I think there's definitely a lot of overlap between the kind of community movement getting involved and helping out with DAOs.
Yeah, we started these calls. That's what we wanted to do, kind of get people more familiar with the DAOs and how the structure is. And I could go a little bit into detail, kind of how it is. I started with UMA. I found UMA when I got into DeFi. I was kind of one of those in the Coinbase world, pretty much stuck in there, and I decided to get out, check out the DeFi and farming. I went to UMA because you could develop your own financial contracts, and that was in January, beginning of January. And then it kind of just built up along. We started the KPI options came out, and our first one was to bring up the TVL. So the community, basically, we got together, started to work on talking to other communities and going on Discord and I'm chatting with them about the KPI options, which is really cool because it's more like a tool that we're giving them to help themselves, like and help out their DAO. So we went around doing that for a little bit, and unfortunately, that was at May when we had that huge market crash. It was it took a toll upon our KPI options also. But during that time, we Clayton was on, and he's like, well, we should name ourselves something. We should have our group. So I guess it built from there, the SuperUMAns, and we chose the name SuperUMAns, and then we just became really close, especially when the market crashed and we were, kind of down and out. But for us, what we did was it was great because we're like a family now. It was pretty exciting. We all just bound together and stuck through it all instead of being just like on Discord. I don't know who this guy is or this guy, and just chatting every once in a while and asking questions. It kind of built a team. And then from there, we expanded on these second options, which were just given out to the SuperUMAns. And then we started bringing in recruits, onboarding people to make the community bigger. For our first KPI also was just a lesson for us. And then now we've started to build a DAO. There's things like with pay, how are they going to do the pay, how we're going to base, the options that we get, and how to judge that or how to balance that out. Whether you are at the beginning, we were doing it a self-assessment, and then now we just tried Coordinate. So it's it basically is they're taking a lot of the feedback from the community, and we're trying to change ways to find something that works for us, things that we do, because we have different sections, kind of like I do the videos and video calls, and then we have that's a part of the content team, and then we have an education team, and we have a social media team, and we have a bunch of different teams kind of form together, all to help get integrations and get our name out there a little bit more and spread the word, so we can help at other DAOs with our treasury tools. Is basically where we're at right now. We're still working on. We still haven't figured out exactly how we're going to determine the pay, because before it was like per week. Then now we just did Coordinate. So we're still forming. It's been a bit long road, but we're getting to where we need to be, and it's great that it's all with community interaction, and they're taking like what we say into consideration, and we're trying to figure out how to do it all best for us. So that's kind of where we stand right now.
Very cool. Yeah,
it's definitely, I mean, there is such like a connection between like the cycle, like when everything's pumping, it's easy to be cheerleading and everyone's happy, and then you kind of really get a opportunity to like work and make connections and build things sometimes, like when there's a dump, when stuff is kind of going crazy, and that's when people are ready to try new things and experiment. And so it is like I've developed kind of more of an appreciation for when things are down or sideways, because then you can really like, it's kind of like a come together moment, right? Like you can get people together and kind of figure out, okay, this is an opportunity to rethink things, and we're in DeFi because we're trying to build a better future for finance, and that's what this is all about. And sometimes like the down days are a catalyst for that.
Yeah, and also it was a good thing in a way, because it kind of weeded out some people that weren't really there for the right reasons. So that was another reason why it was pretty cool that the ones that stuck together throughout the whole ordeal. We made it through, and now the second KPI options are looking good for us. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool. I do agree that it's the work and the effort that goes in during the kind of down cycles that obviously helps prepare for the for a later point. And I think that's definitely holds true with us too. Like Digg definitely had a very long period of negative contraction and still has a long ways to go. As Wasabi said, it's still like there's a lot of discussion, and we're trying to help more or less like continue that discussion with the community and help build the framework and structure so that it can continue to evolve, but maintain kind of the spirit of the DAO and the community-led kind of concept here. And so, but yeah, it's the Digg community has been very passionate and been very, rather than kind of forgetting about it, there's been tons of work. Wasabi hasn't even mentioned probably like, he kind of helped spearhead and kind of helped ensure that the rebase mechanism for Digg was, communicated clearly. And, there was a lot of work that's gone into kind of ensuring Digg's accuracy and transparency, and kind of like wanting to create as much visibility and transparency into it as possible, so everybody knows exactly what it is. And then, it was, everything came together nicely in August, and now the next phase of it is trying to figure out what that looks like.
Apart from the KPI stuff, for me, it's been SuperUMAns has been the best place to learn, and we're like family. We do stuff together, we work together, learn together, and the effort has actually been awesome. Being a superhuman has helped me like self-reflect on myself, and it has helped me make great improvements and actually make an impact. And it's one of the best feelings, to be honest, and to help communities and other DAOs with the tools that we have to offer. Like from on a scale of like 1 to 10, could you talk about how the superhuman like community has actually like helped, like in terms of the KPI adoption, like in terms of like coming together, like to like check up on you guys to make sure that things are going smoothly. Like I mean the community in general, like relating with the community. How has it like been for you?
The SuperUMAn community, first of all, graciously hosted our Digg Dojo one time, which was awesome because we got to basically use their platform to kind of meet and communicate and share Digg story with a host of other people, which that was awesome. So very, that was a super supportive and like helpful way for us to kind of like continue to share our message. And then just more technically, Sean, Clayton, Henry, a few of you guys have been close to the Digg community for the last 4 or 5 months, have been there along the way to kind of help with technical questions. Sean probably was the lead in this regard, but obviously the whole process was there for assistance. That was really helpful too.
Okay. So on a personal level, like could you tell us like your favorite part of working with the superhumans? I mean like a particular moment that you really enjoyed working with the superhumans like personally.
Yeah, I mean, one aspect really stands out to me. So like Wezek mentioned, we went on a call in the UMA Discord, and it was basically like we had been doing these Digg Dojos, and it was full of Badger people, kind of people who were familiar with our DAO, who kind of knew about Digg and what was going on. And to go to a kind of next door neighbor and try to tell the story of Digg and get questions from people who are a little bit further from the Badger community, I think that really helped us kind of see how people were looking at Digg with fresh eyes. So it's like, you try to, if you've ever like tried to sell something, it's really hard to like think in the mind of your customer or think of someone who's a user of your product that you're building. And you kind of try to develop assumption, you tend to develop assumptions when you're working with your team about what users may want. But there's really no substitute for just talking to people, especially people who are a little bit less familiar with what you're doing, to get that level of feedback. So that was a super cool thing that you all did, and kind of really helped shape my thinking and kind of helped me get sort of more empathy or put myself in the shoes of someone who's looking at Digg for the first time.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm really glad we're able to do that. How about you, Wizard? Is there something that you really like enjoy on a personal level about working with the superhumans?
I mean, I just think the entire community has been very supportive, and like what Wasabi mentioned and what I mentioned earlier. But I mean, I just think, everyone's very friendly, supportive, and helpful. And that's really awesome because, not all of DeFi is the same way.
If there was a few things that you would like people to know about the BadgerDAO or Badger itself, what would that be?
It's a good question. I don't I mean, I think product aside, mission aside, I think the Badger community is just a really awesome community as well. That, you know, we had one of our community members, Vipes, make these Badger punks that you'll see everybody typically has on their profile, and just I think the community inclusion and, you know, willingness to kind of like support everyone, hear everyone's ideas, and create really cool ideas from the community. What Wasabi and I and a few others did with KPI Options is not like unusual, I guess. Like, you've got other people creating Badger punks, you've got other people creating other ideas and products, and I think that's just a really cool and a testament to kind of like the Badger community, which I see kind of as like a proxy for, you know, measuring the health of a DAO, is like how robust is the community and how many ideas and innovations are coming out of the community versus, you know, the core team. And like, you look at it, the Badger DAO that way, like it's a very healthy, strong community, which is really cool.
Yeah, I actually think that too, because you guys are awesome. So, as it is right now, you have experience in working together, building projects, contracts, and all. What tips do you have for future builders and builders that are currently building something at the moment right now? What would you advise them?
I don't know. It's hard. I mean, I think you know, I'm not a developer. I don't write code. I, you know, pre-working in crypto, I'm kind of like a marketer and have a lot of experience doing copywriting. So that's like writing sales, direct sales, messaging. So I think a lot of that requires you, like I was saying before, to kind of get inside the head of your user and really deeply understand what they want, what they, you know, what they really want behind what they might say.
Yeah,
And so we're trying to do that a lot more. Like, I think there's a tendency in crypto to overcomplicate things, to create, you know, different levels of complexity, and you know, that's, you know, on one hand that's necessary because you know, you're building something new, but then on the other hand, it's you know, there's so, for someone going into crypto has so many things to learn that you really want to make sure that you're not just creating more stuff for them to learn that may not be necessary. So always trying to keep that user experience in mind. That's something that I try to like advocate for in projects that I'm involved with, and help doing that by just trying to write as clearly as possible, speak as clearly as possible on how to do stuff, because like it's easy to get inside and get kind of like DeFi brain, as I call it, and like you're in these things and you know the difference between all this stuff, but you know, someone who's just starting out is not gonna to be there. So try to keep that beginner's mind.
yeah, that's actually very awesome because I'm actually part of the social media team. I'm helping to coordinate. And one of the things that we are working on, we recently figured some things out, and we were speaking on making things simpler for other people to understand, making things more relatable for other people to understand in our content that we're going to be posting on Twitter. And I feel like that's actually a very good thing. And I like the fact that we are having the same ideas about stuff. I feel that crypto is already like a bit technical, and I feel like to get more people into it, we have to make sure that it's more relatable and very simple. And I actually really like that. So, Deadcoin, is there any other thing you'd love to like ask?
When I started, I got just totally demolished by the gas fees. Like, you know, go back and think about it. When I came in, when we talk about it, like, there's little things that'll just totally kill somebody and not make them not come back, because like I got hammered on gas fees. I had no idea that, you know, you could wait till a certain time and maybe the fees will go down, or maybe just wait and not do it. And how many, like, say, minting, that I started to mint the Y dollar, and when I came in, I was just like, bang, I hit the the one transaction just to check my coins or whatever, and it was like $100-something. I'm like, whoa, I don't think I'm in on this, man. And then I'm like, well, I'm this far in. So then after that, you have, then you mint your coins and you have to mint 100 tokens. I'm like, oh shoot, well, how much do I need to put more in here? That was very expensive too. This is like February when it was like way up there. Like it's starting to get it now again, unfortunately. Just how many transactions it takes to do something. Then to get into a pool, you have to approve your coins again, which is another fee. I didn't know. And then, I just got lost in the mix. I was like, well, and then you have to wrap your ETH. And I was getting tore up and I almost gave up. I mean, I still probably haven't covered my losses, but it was a good learning experience for me. But that's something that I would like, to get out there to the people more, because that way they don't get chased away. They can I got a little thing up top in my browser that tells me what gas prices are. I wait till they go down, and just the small things like that will really turn somebody away. So I think that's great to explain things and make it simpler for people. And also sometimes I explain things to people. They're like, oh, I'm not going to go that far. I'll just stay on Coinbase. It's like, well, there's more opportunities out there. Just I know it's hard to learn. So if it's more simpler, I think that would be benefit all of us and get more people involved.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good advice. Like, I don't know, like I'm of two minds, right? Because like I think of, the best advice is like, don't ever look at that website that tells you like how much gas you spent on all your DeFi stuff and like what the current value of that is, because like you'll just cry. But like, on one hand, like I strongly believe just personally of having like an R&D budget, like just a budget for like trying stuff out. Like maybe you'll get an airdrop later, experimenting with new products, because like that's kind of like how you get an edge in DeFi. But then also like, yes, like when I want to think of something like an investment, when I'm trying to like put more dollars to work, then I'm looking for stuff, like you said, like trying to be really efficient, trying to find like, okay, what is this? Can I stay in this contract for like a year or 6 months and like not have to move it around? Like, I think, like once you're talking about like really allocating money, then you have to be super wary of gas and watch out for that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't ever want to see how much I paid in gas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the gas.
Nightmares.
I have the gas now up in the corner, so that way I can see when it goes down. Sometimes, I mean, I remember I was waiting up to like 3:30, about 3:30 in the morning, my time, New York time. It was about the time to hit it, and because the gas seemed to go down at that point in time, so I was always like either setting my alarm or sometimes I'd sleep through it. I'm like, oh man, just to even vote. I'm like, oh shoot, I missed it. The little things you learn, the little nuances you learn to try to save a few bucks and not get smashed on the gas.
So just looking at, actively for where I can do like, do stuff on L2s, like Badger's recently deployed on Arbitrum. So that's something to, if you're interested in Badger, they have, I think 4 vaults on there now. But yeah, like as more places go to L2s, looking for plays there, or trying to kind of like put more of the R&D stuff onto like Phantom, Polygon, these really inexpensive L2s. I think that's a good way for people, especially if you're just starting out and just want to play around and figure out how this stuff works.
You are on Polygon too, I believe so, right? Yeah.
Yep. Badger is on Binance Smart Chain, although those are no longer active. Polygon, Arbitrum, and others in the works, I think.
Well, I guess we could sum up this call. I appreciate you guys coming in here and standing in for this. Is our first one, so I'm kind of still nervous. We're trying to put something together to get more people involved and learn a little bit more about different communities. And I think Badger's an awesome community. Like I said, some of us SuperUMAns are in there. I made a call one time for the dojo from Poopster, and so I checked it out, and I think it's awesome. Did you have any other questions, Mid?
Not really. I just wanted to ask if they actually enjoyed the DAO series, if this was very good for them, and that's the only question I have to ask before going.
Yeah. I just wanted to say thank you. This has been really enjoyable talking to both of you, meeting you both. We really are huge UMA fans and have enjoyed working with UMA and continuing to work with the SuperUMAns. So thank you for having us and giving us a chance to talk about KPI options and Digg. And just in general about DAOs and Badger and the UMA community. So thank you for having us, and good luck in all your other kind of discussions, and as you guys kind of kick off this new series and podcast.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having us, and I can't wait to subscribe. Please, let us know when the channel is live and everything, because I think this is really like the best way of connecting with other DAOs, just having these kind of open conversations. And as DAOs get bigger and bigger, like cross-pollination is going to be more and more important. So looking forward to continuing this conversation with all of you.
Awesome. Thank you very much too for coming, and we appreciate it. We'll see you guys around.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you. Bye.